Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Wednesday, the 5th of June, 2024. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, growth figures released today show that the Australian economy expanded by just 0.1% during the March quarter and by 1.1% for the year ending March 31. If you don't include the pandemic period, it is the worst growth rate since the early 1990s recession. The anemic growth adds to the argument that the Reserve Bank doesn't need to lift rates and might even cut them later in the year. That helped equity markets, with the S&P ASX 200 finishing up 0.4% to 7,769 points. Among the large caps, Goodman Group, Aristocrat Leisure and Cochlear were all up 2% or more, while REA, WiseTech Global, Woolies, Transurban, Telstra and CSL all jumped more than 1%. Rio Tinto, BHP and Fortescue Metals Group were all sharply lower, while Woodside and Santos also fell. In corporate news, online job marketplace Seek jumped 5% after agreeing to sell its majority stake in its Mexican and Latin American businesses for $128 million. It ends a 16-year foray into the region by the group. Story number 2, Nvidia continues its climb on Wall Street. The chip maker is now worth $2.86 trillion, not far from the market capitalization of Apple, which is at $2.95 trillion. The Aussie dollar is down a touch, buying 66.6 US cents. One asset benefiting from all the speculation about lower interest rates, particularly in the US, is Bitcoin, which popped above $70,000 a unit overnight. That is now 5 straight sessions of gains, the best run in 3 months. It's still about 5% below its all-time high, though. That was hit back in mid-March. Story number 3, Business has warned that the Albanese government will struggle to meet its aggressive emissions reduction targets because of the many hurdles the industry needs to overcome to deliver the energy transition. These hurdles include building transmission lines, a pause in the growth of electric vehicle sales, rising costs, and a shift in community attitudes. The Financial Review has been holding an ESG summit, gathering many of the major players in the sector. Ampol Chief Executive Matthew Halliday is quoted as saying there is a huge challenge to secure connections to the grid for fast charging stations for EVs, while poor resale values are hampering take-up. David Gillespie, the Managing Director of gas and electricity infrastructure company Jemena, says delays in the building of transmission lines required to carry electricity from renewable sources such as wind and solar are stretching to up to 5 years, and there's insufficient attention being paid to the use of gas made from plant and other organic waste. Now, Australia has a net 2030 emissions target of 43% reduction below 2005 levels and for net zero greenhouse emissions by 2050. The consensus is that Australia will struggle to meet the targets. Story number 4, Treasury Wine Estates share price jumped more than 5% today after it said it was confident of meeting internal forecasts. Investors have been worried about the performance of its newly acquired Californian luxury wine business Dow Vineyards. Treasury paid $1.6 billion for the business last year, but management expects Dow to contribute to earnings, and overall, the group forecasts mid to high single-digit earnings growth, hence the share price performance today. And story number 5, 2 smaller lenders, Beyond Bank and Police and Nurses, will merge, creating one of the country's largest mutual financial institutions. The new group will hold assets of around $40 billion and have a customer base of 450,000 people. Financial institutions are not cheap businesses to run, with significant capital and regulatory requirements on top of investments needed in technology, cybersecurity and digital banking. As a result, being small isn't always a great option, and Chair of Police and Nurses said the merger will help the group remain competitive and sustainable. That's it for the afternoon report for Wednesday, the 5th of June, 2024. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.